Yo, what's up? So just before the year's over, I just wanted to make this one last video. So me and King, here I'm going to show you right here. If you're not aware of the whole situation circulating around King, basically King, this guy right here, made a video on him. There's another guy named Young Rare. You might want to watch my two videos on the main channel, Twisted World, so you can understand the full context around this. But if you do understand, this is going to shine a little bit more light on the situation. So King got arrested basically for an unknown reason. A lot of people thought it was because he was hitting a woman, or maybe that he was messing around with children. That's what a lot of rumors were spread about him. Meanwhile, this other collaborator of him, Young Rare, was able to kind of get away with it and like spin the narrative because King was locked up for about 4 years and not able to speak on what he wanted to speak on. As soon as he got out, I connected with them, did an interview with him. Unfortunately, it was deleted because Young Rare was saying that he was witness tampering. So the whole situation with that, I posted a video about Rare that kind of shines some light on the whole situation, and then I posted another video about King, and now everybody's kind of back on King. But he hit me up the other day. I'm going to try to find the video here just so I can give you the full. Okay, as you can see here, I got to make sure that you got. Sorry, this is a little improv too here. I got everything I kind of need, but I just really want to show you guys. Well, you probably understand the context. We got on a basically. That's just a picture. Okay, we just got on this FaceTime call here. I'm not sure where the full thing is. It's just gonna open up. They're all pictures. Okay. It was on Instagram, so unfortunately we couldn't record all the context. We talked about all the paperwork, but basically he gave me the paperwork. So we have it all here. I'm gonna have to get it all in order is the main thing, and I'm gonna have to like make sure I can read it. Right? It's got numbers at the bottom. Probably should. Okay, I think this is the first. So yes, this is the paperwork. But for context, everybody in the situation. So we got King. His real name is Anthony. Okay. Sorry, Andy. That's his real name. Okay. Here's his mugshot. Andy. Andy Rodriguez. Da da da. Boise, Idaho. Battery domestic. Okay. Got that? That's the mugshot. Jalen is this guy. Young Rare. This is Jalen. And Carrot is this guy, also known as Akari 6 or whatever the fuck his actual. Okay, so these are three people. So this is not to show that Rare is a pedophile or whatever. I guess I have the censored out one here, but he was arrested for that. This is not his paperwork on this. This is the paperwork proving that Young Rare actually snitched on King. Okay, so I'm going to read this. I'm going to try to show you the context around it so we can finally put this to bed. People are going to say I'm dragging it. I'm not dragging it. King just said, we want to make sure the full information is out there, give you as much context as we can because, Rare is known to kind of cover his past up. So we're going to make this one last video, and then we're leaving Rare in 2023, and it's all King, and it's all the new shit in 2024. Okay? Stop. Please stop. Okay. So, this is what King went to jail for. Okay? I'm going to show you this here. This video right here. Okay? Here it is, first time uncensored. That's King beating the fuck out of this guy named Akari. Carrick, whatever the fuck you want to call him. There you go. This is what happened. So basically, King was beating it. You can see this guy has literally no pants on here. So yeah. The context around this situation is that Akari, Carrick, was in bed with basically an underage girl. That's what King alleges or whatever. That's what he says. So he was beating. So King freaked out, beat the fuck out of him, and then Rare and Carrot basically got him arrested, okay? And then tried to play it off like it was all because of domestic abuse. Here's Carrot after the situation. Fucked up, he hit him with a gun. But Rare is very much said that he did not snitch. He did not snitch on King, okay? Well, we're going to prove right here that's not the case. So, referring to that video. This video was the second video of the two videos I obtained, so this is a police officer talking. At the very beginning, I heard a female say, "We have to do something," and walk back towards the door where the incident is still occurring. You can hear that in the video. There's an unknown time delay between videos. While she walks towards the door is now closed, but I could hear a male voice screaming, "Stop, please stop," that'd be Carrick, and other unknown screams. I was unable to make out the female filming this video. The female filming this video opens the door and immediately says, "Hey, stop," to which Andy does not stop. I think that Andy was drunk in this. I don't remember exactly. I think that's what he said. At this point, I observed Carrick's body mostly off the bed, with his lower half hanging off the bed. Yeah, with his fucking cock out. He was nude, and he only had black socks on him. His upper body was masked due to Andy still being mounted on top of it near his lower midsection area. The female says, "Please stop." Da da da. Okay, so you get the idea. This is describing the video. Yeah, I could hear Carrick say, yelling at him, making the sound like whimpering sounds and grunts every time he was struck. The video stops, and it's unknown how the altercation ultimately ends. During the second video, Carrick is unable to defend himself and did not punch or strike Andy. Okay, so you understand. That's just explaining. I know this is a little unorganized, but how can you hear this?
Wolverine, boy, I got that fucking plutonium in my bones, boy. I can't break.
Okay, so this is Akari being, I got that plutonium. So he's, he's tough, whatever. It didn't bother him, right? He's whimpering and crying in the thing. But we're going to see how the narrative kind of shines from what they were trying to put online to what actually came out. Okay, so we got 92. On this date, Carrick Oates, Akari, and Jalen Kotz, Young Rare, responded to the Ada County Sheriff's Office to speak with me regarding the case. I had Carrick come back to the interview room first and audio recorded. During the first interview, a little over an hour, Carrick did not speak much. I spoke with him first alone, and he was quiet, not making eye contact, and kept shaking his head up and down when I would mention how scared and scary the situation must have been. I was given permission by Shay person to share some of her story with Carrick and Jalen. So I shared how she had been also a victim of physical violence more than once. Okay, so Shay here, this King does have a prior charge, or sorry, not a prior charge. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, where basically he did have an altercation with his woman, but that was like an outstanding type of thing. He wasn't going to jail for that. This happened a couple of years ago. But when the sheriffs caught him being violent again, they were like, okay, we're able to connect the dots here, you know what I mean, to get this guy finally put away. We got the videos, we got whatnot, but we don't really have everything we need to put him away. So now we got to talk to these two. Carrick stated he had not known that while living with her. During my interview with Carrick alone, he did not have much to say and was very withdrawn. I then went to go get Jalen and had him join Carrick. The rest of the time, Jalen spoke for the most part, while Carrick sat there quietly. While they were in the same room together, Jalen brought up many of their concerns about testifying and not wanting any further consequences, either personally or on their building music careers. So he is afraid to speak. He wants King put away, but he doesn't want to be seen as a snitch. Okay. They did not want to be labeled as snitches, okay? And did not want their followers on social media to fabricate and falsify information about them if they were to cooperate. Okay, so I'm not falsifying any information here. Like I said, this is the actual paperwork. It's got all the names. You got everything. King literally, he can show you. He ripped that shit right out. It was not, he doesn't even know. He wouldn't know how to falsify this shit, Boise, Idaho. Kidnapping on the second degree, so they don't want to be known as snitches, okay? We discussed the difference between doing the right thing, supporting your friends, and being more focused on an alternative thing, hoping more bad things did not follow. Both Carrick and Jalen respectively knew that what had occurred to Carrick was not okay and agreed that Andy was dangerous. Jalen also agreed. When I shared some information about Shay's story, and if she went back to him, it would not turn out in her favor and she would potentially be killed, and he agreed. Okay, I also just want to state, like, personally, snitching, I do and I don't care. Like, obviously you see what type of person I am. I'm not in the streets. I'm not anything like that. And there's different circumstances where I feel like maybe sometimes it's like I can understand it, but like it's like the narrative that's being spun here, where it's like, they had a fight previously, and now it's like, anyways, you're going to see everything that kind of goes down with this, but it's like, it's not necessarily that even they told their story, like King beat him up, so they were scared. Like, that's understandable, whatever. But like, once again, King will say, Rare talks about being gangster in his music, you know what I mean? They wanted to hang out with King because they wanted to have the gangster persona, but the second that something went down, and it would have been like, okay, like, if it was King in there beating her up in front of them, okay, I understand. Like, that's not what happened, you know what I mean? Dude had his fucking dick out. He was banging an underage girl. Okay, so I'm editing this right now, and I'm realizing that in that previous recording, what I'm saying doesn't really make any sense. So what I'm basically saying is that I would understand if it was like King was hitting a girl in front of them. That would be like totally understandable to like tell the cops about that. Like, I think when it comes to women, but it wasn't that situation. They knew they were doing weird stuff. Like, they knew that they were fucking around with like allegedly underage girls. They knew who King was previously. Like, they knew he was a gangster. They wanted that persona. They wanted to fuck with that. But the second that things started to get dangerous and fall back on them, they're instantly like, oh, he's dangerous. He's a killer. We need him gone. That's mainly what I'm trying to say in my own stupid way. So hopefully you understand that a bit more. Anyways, back to the video. I listened to the jail calls, and I knew Jalen had helped to facilitate interaction between Andy and Shay against the protection order. Okay, so once again, so he's afraid, she's going to get killed, and I agree, like, King's a dangerous guy, he's going to kill her, but they're facilitating phone calls between. Okay, so let's see why. Like, get some context here. I told Jalen briefly that there were 5 instances where he had helped, and Jalen stated in a secondary interview later in the day the name Butters was a nickname for Shay. It's referred to Shay Butter. I hope I'm saying her name right. Shay Butter. During the first interview, they advised they would get back to me regarding whether they wanted to cooperate with the investigation or not and testify due to a multitude of concerns that were not discussed in depth. Upon them leaving, I knew Jalen was on probation and was unsure if he would notify his parole officer. He's on probation because he got caught with some underage girls. Anyways, like I said, watch the videos for full context. Alleged, blah, 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 blah. He can do an interview with me if he wants, and he knows that. Ultimately, Jalen advised he had helped facilitate the calls between Andy and Shay because he did not want ramifications from Andy. So he was so afraid, and this is what makes no sense to me, okay? He knew that this girl was in danger, but he needed to set up the calls because he was so afraid of Andy. Like, why did you not call the police sooner? Like, you could, okay, wait. Does he look like he's fucking afraid here? Like, no, they're fucking dancing. They're having the time of their life. Everything was good. Like, they had no problems with King, with me, and the new charges where he helped to facilitate violating the protection order. So now Jalen's in trouble because he's violating his probation. I contacted the probation officer and notified him of the meeting and the investigation I was conducting overall. Unknown by me, Jalen had a meeting with his probation officer following the appointment with me. Ultimately, following his appointment with the probation officer, Jalen and Carrick decided to return to the Ada County Sheriff's Office to clear up the fact that they did not want to cooperate and would not speak to me any further, around 1700 hours. Jalen and Carrick responded back, and I took them back into the soft interview room. Detective whatever the fuck accompanied me in the interview as well. I'm sorry if my reading is fucking garbage. I'll post all these on Instagram so you can read them all like through. I'm not trying to fucking spin a narrative here. I'm just genuinely not great at reading out loud. When we got into the room, I told Jalen he had potentially 5 charges and violating a protection order between Andy and Shay, which would probably result in probation violations as well. I explained my goal is to make sure people are safe and to get the truth. I told both Jalen and Carrick I knew and had information related to both cases and that it would be helpful for them to share. Okay, so you're thinking, so he's in a bad situation now. He was afraid of King. He thought King was going to kill him. So he needed to do this because he was in danger for his life. He had to facilitate these calls between them. He had to do it. And now his probation, he's just in a bad, but it's like, then why did you call the police in the first place? You know what I mean? Well, he was beating up my friend. You know what I mean? Could have asked him to leave. You know what I mean? You didn't have to get, if you knew there was trouble there and you knew you've had problems with the police before, like, and your friends, and that's where it's not justifiable. Like, this situation, you'd understand, but it's like, Carrot was like with an underage girl in bed. So it's like, did he make the best choice beating him up? Maybe not. But probably most people are going to do that in that situation. Carrick made it clear to me that he had already decided he would be testifying and that after the first interview, they had already decided that they would be testifying. Okay? So Carrick's going to testify. Carrick's not gangster, though. Don't matter. We're not worried about him. Jalen interjected and stated that he wanted Andy to primarily be in jail to keep people safe. So he wants him to go to jail. But their concern was how fast he was bailed out on January 31st, related to the aggravated battery incident. So they're worried that he got out, basically. They don't want King free, And it's because King would then have information to go tell about their dirty dealings. Carrick stated that when Andy got arrested on these charges, he and Jalen felt relief because he was finally in jail and they could breathe. Finally, they're safe from this guy. But before they knew it, he had bonded out and was out of custody. Later in the interview, Jalen mentioned that upon his release, Andy called him and gloated that he was out and told Jalen, "Haha, I win, pussy," in reference to him being bailed out quickly. Jalen stated the miscommunication is that we want him to go to jail, when I was explaining the severity of the video based upon the level of violence depicted. Jalen stated Andy had been like digging for a knife or something and that they know it's fucked up and they literally want to see him in jail. Carrick asked what was needed from him and he told him that he had any information I need to know. So they want to see another man in jail basically. And it's like, oh, he beat up his friend. They're just, yes, he beat him with a gun, pistol whipped him. He beat him up. He knew what he was doing though. So anyways, I'm just going to read what's left. Because at this point, if you don't believe me or you don't believe what King's saying and you just want to believe Rare, you can, it's up to you. I'm not going to sit here and just continue to try to grind it in. I'm just going to read what there is here. Is this number 95? He stated that he was in the room and Andy came in and started going. Carrick admitted he was actively engaged in sex with a female he identified as Bree. King doesn't know this person. The girls ran out. So he admits he's actively, but this is the narrative they're going to spin here. This is what they are trying to say. They're going to say that King was mad because this was his girl. But as you can see, King and this Shay girl were still actively... This Bree girl has nothing to do with anything. But they're going to say that King was with this girl and it was just... Anyways, he told me as soon as Andy came in that Bree got off him and moved to the side and moved around. He stated he knew after a few seconds after it started, he suspected probably when they stopped filming the first time. The females left and he and Andy were in the room alone. He stated he was alone there with Andy for 10 to 15 minutes. He stated Andy, was assaulting him for maybe like 8 minutes or something. And then I fell asleep, woke back up and he wouldn't let me leave the room either. He would there's a metal stool he picked up and swatted at me several times. I had him show me on the video and he scrolled through and he pointed out on the side end table as the metal stool. We don't know. We really don't know. King admitted he beat him up with a gun. He hit him in the face with a gun. I would say that if he was smashing him with a metal stool in the face, Carrick probably would have looked a lot worse than that. Yeah, he's fucked up. He's bleeding. But if somebody's smashing you in the face with a stool, I'm assuming your skull's gonna crack. Probably gonna be in a lot worse shape. Don't know. He told me Andy had used the side table to hit him in the head. Carrick stated Andy stomped on him as well, and when he tried to get up and leave, Andy would kick him back down and would continue to kick him and beat him. I don't know if any of this is more relevant. He's just explaining basically what you see in that video. I'm not skipping anything like you said. I will post all of this so everybody can read it. Not leaving anything out. Not skewing a story. We're just putting this to bed. Okay, fuck. When we saw during the interview, Jalen stated that Andy had told him he fucked with Carrick so he could teach him to be hard, making the excuse that he would never survive in Los Angeles due to being too soft, which is what they both wanted. They wanted King to give them a hard persona. Jalen and Carrick stated that all the damages in the house were all done by Andy when he got angry. Carrick and Jalen stated that there were many holes in the doors off hinges, holes in ceilings, and other damages. Carrick and Jalen stated that they had never seen him do that towards Shea, but every time that he would argue, they would disappear. It made clear that during the incident, Andy was not intoxicated. Okay, so he wasn't intoxicated, according to Jalen, so we don't know. And Andy had waited until Jalen left the apartment temporarily to go find his cat, who got stuck on the roof, so he was looking for a light. Okay, this is just a stupid thing, but this is another thing that everybody's always says about King. King killed young Rare's cat. Okay, during this incident, right, he's beating up Akari. Rare says he was outside on the roof. It's an apartment, so I don't know how the cat got on the roof. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyways, he's looking for the cat. He's punching the fuck out of him, okay? He's looking for his cat. He's on the roof. Cops show up, take King away. King never once again lives with Rare. The cat was alive during the time he was beating him up, okay? So unless King somehow, in the time that it took for the police to get there, managed to go snap the cat's neck or some shit, which wouldn't make sense because there would be animal abuse, there'd be all these charges. So King didn't kill the fucking cat. The cat was alive when King was beating up Akari. King got taken away. Cat was still alive. Didn't kill his cat. Timeline doesn't make sense. Like I said, would be on here. He would have animal abuse charges or fucking whatever you would get. Ridiculous thing, but you just go to show, this is how Rare has managed to slander and continue to fucking make shit up. King was... I'll show you a video of the cat in a minute here. Anyways... So stupid. So fucking stupid. Immediately upon Jalen leaving the apartment, Andy reportedly immediately went to the room Carrick was in with the girl and attacked. Additionally, it was also made clear had not been at the house all day, and everyone knew the female Carrick was having sex with was not Shay, it was another female. Carrick told me that the female, identified as Bree, had a previous sexual fling with Andy. This is not true. This is the narrative they're trying to spin. This was just a girl that was hanging out there. King is older. Okay, so this is King's older. King's 30. Okay, yes, King is older. These guys were always bringing around underage girls. King started to get weirded out about it. Said, stop bringing them around, or you know what I mean. Like next time you bring one of these girls around, that girl was around. You know, it's weird for him. He's a lot older too, so he knows he's probably the one that's gonna get in shit when the younger guys are bringing around these 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old, you know, whatever it is, alleged. And then he walks in and dude's like balls deep in this fucking girl, so he kicks the shit out of him. Carrick told me that Andy would rub it in his face and tell him he would not swoop in on Bree and have sex with her because Andy, was more attractive. Carrick told me that he was competitive and he wanted to have sex with Bree, so he swooped in, and while they were having sex, Andy waited until Jalen left the apartment and we went to the room, asked Carrick. Carrick stated when Andy came in, he was saying things about how Carrick had disrespected him and not to ever do it again, which he probably did disrespect him by sleeping with the girl after he immediately told him, like, you can't stop these guys, you know, they just gotta. And like I said, there's other accounts of like, you can say what you want about Rare. People try to like talk about Rare's like sex crime and like try to play it down. Like this Sakari guy, it's like, no, it's like over and over again. Everybody, you know, like even Rare was aware of it, you know, just whatever. This is just them making up a story about, obviously, like King said he doesn't know her, can even talk. We'll probably do, honestly, another fucking interview with King too. So I just trying to find the part where it actually says, during this interview, I explained to Jalen, it seemed as though on the jail calls with Andy that he was playing both sides, saying that people wanted to hear what people wanted to hear and need to decide where he stood. He told me that it's not Team King and was trying to stay out of things and appease during this explanation. Carrick spoke up and stated he had also been temporarily angry with Jalen because he had heard the conversation and thought he was not being supportive. After he had been victimized, Carrick stated after Jalen explained his stance, he was fine with it. I told Jalen if his best friend was initially unable to tell who he was supporting, I certainly would not be able to from just a phone call. So yeah, he's trying to put King away, but I don't want the information out there. I don't want people to think that I'm a snitch. You know, I need my hands to be clean. You know, whoever I got to throw under the bus, really. Which, is that all there is? I thought there was another page. So I'm just going to add this in. This is the final piece of information here. I'm going to edit this in, but here we go. So this is how it all went down, basically. You understand all the context. Going to post it all. Hopefully I did a good job at portraying what the story is here. But this is basically the proof that young Rare snitched. Ultimately, Jalen advised that he had helped facilitate the calls between Andy and Shay because he did not want ramifications from Andy. He stated after his first time being incarcerated in November, talking about King, Jalen had not answered his phone calls. When Andy was released, he immediately got in Jalen's face and told him he better answer the calls next time. Jalen stated he wanted no issues with Andy and seen him lose his temper in the past. He advised Andy was responsible for all the damage within the apartment, including damage to the doors and walls, and would lose his temper and become physically aggressive over small things. Jalen told me he was not trying to play both sides, but was trying to appease Andy so he would cease contacting Shay and using him to do so. Jalen did not want to be part of any of the investigation, didn't want his name in the records, didn't want to be part of it, just wanted King to go away. He says that they want King away. You've seen it in the past. You've seen it throughout this. We just want King to go to jail. He's a danger, but I don't want to be part of this. And here it is. Either directly, he doesn't want to be part of it, either directly or indirectly, but I explained that it was already too late. The audio interview was added and submitted into the agency, and there you go. So he didn't want it, but his interview was submitted as evidence to get against King. Because of that, he was not allowed bail, and he ended up doing 4 years in prison. So I'm not saying he wouldn't have got charged. The videos were still there, but he would have been able to get bail. But because of his testifying, saying he was dangerous, saying that he beat him up, saying that he was there, saying that in between Carrick's and his testimony, they got King put away for 4 years. They then spent the next 4 years slandering him, making up stories, as we've proven here. Didn't kill the cat. Timeline doesn't make sense. Didn't screw around with any underage girls. None of his charges, Nothing to do domestic violence, you know, which this is talking about Carrick. That's what he got charged with. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. Tell me if you think Rare should do an interview. If you still believe that Rare didn't snitch, whatever you want to believe, it's fine. We can talk about it. I can get King on a second interview if you guys want, where he can talk about it. But for the most part, I'm just ready to leave Rare in the past and move on with all this. I think King is too. This is going to be King's year. So appreciate you guys so much for watching this, checking it out. And hopefully more positivity in the new year. Yeah.